Can you imagine a body of water sparking a global conflict? Welcome to the South China Sea. The China Sea, a vast expanse of water, dotted with islands and reefs, is the center of a complex geopolitical puzzle that remains unresolved. This puzzle involves several nations: China, the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, and Taiwan, each asserting their territorial claims over the sea and its islands. While these claims are rooted in history, they are also fueled by the South China Sea's strategic importance. It's a crucial maritime passage with a significant volume of the world's shipping traffic passing through it annually. Beyond its role in global trade, it's also a treasure trove of natural resources, boasting rich reserves of natural gas and oil. In recent years, tensions have escalated. China, asserting its sovereignty, has militarized disputed islands and reefs, building military installations despite the pushback from other claimant nations. An international tribunal ruling in 2016, favoring the Philippines, stated that China has no legal basis for its claims. Nevertheless, China continues to assert its territorial rights, refusing to acknowledge the ruling. The United States, concerned about China's build-up, conducts freedom of navigation operations to uphold international law. The South China Sea has transformed into a stage where power plays unfold and territorial assertions are made. The Maritime militia, a large naval fleet controlled by China, is used to enforce its territorial claims, further complicating the situation. However, this is not a simple conflict over territorial boundaries. It's a multifaceted issue that impacts the environment, the livelihood of local communities, and the global economy. It's a dispute that employs advanced technology for surveillance and military purposes and engages international organizations in attempts to mediate and resolve the conflict. But to comprehend the present, we must travel to the past. Stay tuned, Cryptic Mystic Vault, for more such insightful narratives. The South China Sea dispute did not emerge in a vacuum. Colonial history and ancient navigation routes play a crucial role. The South China Sea, a crucial waterway connecting the Pacific and Indian Oceans, has long been a crossroads of world commerce and culture. Historical navigation routes crisscross its waters, linking east and west, north and south. These routes, once plied by merchants and explorers, now form the backbone of global trade. The legacy of colonialism in the region is a complex tapestry. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, European powers, including Britain, France, and the Netherlands, carved up Southeast Asia into spheres of influence. These colonial boundaries, often arbitrarily drawn, have left an indelible mark on the region's geopolitics. China's historical claim to the South China Sea, for instance, is rooted in maps dating back to the Ming dynasty, when Chinese sailors, led by the legendary Admiral Zheng He, undertook epic voyages of exploration. These maps show a 9-dash line, which China uses today to assert its sovereignty over much of the South China Sea, a claim disputed by its neighbours and deemed invalid by an international tribunal in 2016. On the other side, the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, and Taiwan also base their territorial claims on a mix of historical presence, colonial-era treaties, and international law. While some of these claims overlap, leading to tensions, they all underscore the enduring influence of history on present-day geopolitics. The colonial legacy also left behind a region fragmented, with nations often pitted against one another. This division has made collective action challenging, further complicating resolution efforts. In this intricate web of history and geopolitics, the South China Sea has become a flashpoint, a theatre of naval standoffs, and a test of international law. And while the world has moved on from the age of colonialism, the shadows of the past still loom large over these troubled waters. History, it seems, has a way of repeating itself. The South China Sea is more than just a geopolitical hotspot. It's an ecological treasure trove and an economic lifeline. Home to a multitude of marine life, the South China Sea is a biodiversity hotspot, yet the ongoing disputes have taken a toll on this fragile environment. Coral reefs, the rainforests of the sea, have been damaged due to construction and military activities, disrupting the ecological balance. The loss of these reefs is not just an environmental issue. It's a crisis that affects millions of people who depend on these ecosystems for their livelihood and food security. Beyond the environment, the stakes are economically high. The South China Sea is a vital artery of global trade, with a significant volume of the world's shipping passing through its waters. This makes it an economic lifeline for many nations, especially those surrounding it. From oil and natural gas reserves to fisheries that feed billions, the resources of the South China Sea are indispensable to the economies of many countries. For nations like the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei and Taiwan, the South China Sea is more than just a body of water. It's a gateway to global markets. It's a source of food and energy. It's a piece of their national identity. But it's not just the regional players who have a stake in the South China Sea. The rest of the world does too. Whether it's the electronics from East Asia, the oil from the Middle East, or the grains from North America, much of the globally traded goods pass through this crucial waterway. Any disruptions in the South China Sea could ripple through the global supply chains, affecting economies far and wide. However, amidst the discussions of geopolitical strategy and economic interests, one crucial aspect often gets overlooked: the human cost. The dispute affects the daily lives of people living in the coastal communities around the South China Sea. These are the fishermen who venture into the contested waters every day, the families who depend on the sea for their livelihood, and the communities whose future hangs in the balance of this conflict. Yet the people most affected by this dispute are often the least heard. In this geopolitical game of chess, local communities are the pawns. The South China Sea dispute has profound implications for the livelihoods of local fishermen. As the waters churn with tension, the once bountiful fishing grounds have become arenas of conflict. Territorial claims and militarization have restricted access to traditional fishing areas, leaving these communities caught in the crossfire. With fishing boats frequently targeted, the sea that once provided sustenance now harbours fear. The dispute has also created a peculiar predicament. Fishermen who once competed for the sea's riches are now unlikely allies, their common enemy being the larger geopolitical forces at play. They are the frontline warriors in this maritime dispute, their fishing nets entangled in a web of complex international politics. Yet their plight often goes unnoticed. As the world's focus remains on naval fleets and political posturing, the daily struggle of these communities remains largely invisible, their stories untold, their voices unheard. As nations clash, technology becomes a silent observer and enforcer. In the South China Sea, surveillance and military tech play a pivotal role. The 21st century has seen the transformation of this disputed region into a theatre for technological prowess. The eyes in the sky, satellites provide invaluable intelligence, capturing imagery that helps nations monitor activities and assert territorial claims. Unmanned vehicles, both aerial and underwater, have revolutionized the way nations conduct surveillance and reconnaissance missions. They offer a safer, cost-effective and less provocative means of keeping tabs on the region, without risking human lives or escalating tensions. But it's not just about watching. Advanced technologies are also being deployed for defense and combat operations. Missile systems, radars and electronic warfare systems are now common fixtures on the militarized islands dotting the sea. However, as technology advances, so does the complexity of this maritime chess game. Technologies can be misused, leading to misunderstandings and potential conflicts. The question remains, can the same technologies that are used to fuel this conflict also help diffuse it? But can technology pave the way to peace? Navigating the choppy waters of the South China Sea dispute requires diplomatic finesse and innovative solutions. The complexity of the issue, with overlapping territorial claims and national pride at stake, makes it a tough knot to untangle. Yet it's not an impossible task. The key lies in international cooperation and adherence to the principles of international law. The United Nations, with its global mandate and diplomatic clout, plays a significant role in mediating the dispute. It provides a platform for dialogue, negotiation and resolution through peaceful means. However, the effectiveness of these international mechanisms has been a topic of debate. The challenge lies in enforcing international rulings and ensuring compliance, particularly when powerful nations are involved. One potential pathway to peace could be joint resource management. This approach would involve sharing the South China Sea's abundant resources, such as fish and oil, among the disputing nations. It's a form of cooperative diplomacy that emphasizes mutual benefits and shared interests rather than territorial dominance. However, this solution requires a significant level of trust and willingness to compromise, which can be a tall order in heated territorial disputes. International arbitration is another possible solution. It involves a neutral third-party tribunal making a binding decision on the dispute. The arbitration ruling in favor of the Philippines in 2016, which stated that China has no legal basis for its expansive claims, is an example of this approach. However, the effectiveness of arbitration largely depends on the willingness of the disputing parties to abide by the ruling, which has been a challenge in the South China Sea dispute. The South China Sea dispute is not just a regional issue, but a global one. It tests the limits of international law and the world's ability to manage conflicts peacefully. It's a diplomatic chess game that requires strategic thinking, patience, and a deep understanding of the historical, cultural, and geopolitical complexities at play. The South China Sea dispute continues to test the waters of international law and diplomacy. The question is, how will the world respond?